President Trump meeting with leaders in the space industry to begin the process of establishing a, quote, Space Force as a sixth military branch. We're joined now by Axiom Space CEO Michael Suffredini. He is one of the executives who was at the Space Council's meeting yesterday where President Trump made those comments. Michael, thank you for joining us here at Post 9 today.
Thank you for having me.
So as somebody who was in the room yesterday, your takeaway?
Well, it was National Space Council in general has been a very effective tool since they stood it up. It was great for the president to come and show us support for what we're doing. But of course, there are a couple of big announcements in there. The big was the Space Force idea. And the other is, and near and dear to my heart, is his push to have his administration support commercial in low Earth orbit. So that was very, so it was a great day in general for us.
And I want to get more into the commercial push and also into what Axiom, your company, is doing in the vision there. I realize your roots are in civil space, almost 3 decades at NASA before you started this company. But what is your thought on the idea of establishing a Space Force? Do you think that makes sense right now?
Well, I think I'm no expert, so I'll say this just so we all agree that's where we're starting. But as the Air Force and the military starts looking at what it takes to operate in low Earth orbit and protect assets in low Earth orbit, which are critical to our success now in the military. Everything they do uses satellites. I think it's important for us to have a focus on that. And I know the U.S. Air Force does that today, but it could be getting so big that they need to focus a branch on it. And that seems to be what the president thinks.
And in terms of commercial space, today is day 2 for the National Space Council. Users Advisory Group is meeting as we speak. One of the things they are focusing on is low Earth orbit and this idea of commercialization of the International Space Station and the future of ISS. You spent time managing that project, and now Axiom is looking to target space station technology. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, our concept is exactly what you said. We would like to build a commercial capability in low Earth orbit so that both commercial entities, private individuals, governments can procure time on orbit instead of own the infrastructure. And so the idea behind what we're trying to do is build a space station that starts off at the International Space Station, allows the transfer of existing research and manufacturing to occur in an orderly fashion so that when ISS is ready to be retired, we can just keep growing the market. Whatever will have grown on ISS at that point can be transferred over. We separate. ISS can be retired and we can continue on with the research and stuff going on in orbit. So,
Michael, where do you think the blind spots are for investors looking to space? I mean, there's talk about space mining. Now, there's so many different things that people are looking to invest in space-wise. Are there areas that are perhaps being overlooked or underfunded?
Well, I think investors are certainly much higher risk takers than the rest of the community of companies and governments. So in that respect, I have to give them a lot of credit. I mean, they're very interested in what we're doing. You see the investments in Alpha Centauri. I mean, what's the business case in Alpha Centauri? But if you take a really long view, you can imagine that there is one there. So I don't think that the investment community is particularly risk adverse. I see a lot of interest. There's a lot of interest in what we're doing. Even at the level that we're at today, we want to attach to the International Space Station, and that capability to compete for the port has been kind of drug out a little bit with the government. They're working it, but it's taken a long time. In spite of that, investors are looking at us going, okay, well, maybe we want to go ahead and invest anyway. We have a lot of faith in what you're about to go do in your company. And so we see a lot of interest in the investment community. And I think they look at this a lot different than typical industry does and the governments. I mean, these guys are betting on a business case that's not obvious to you today, but the internet business case wasn't obvious to us when the internet was created either.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.